What's going on, guys? Welcome to Cruising with Kevin. Like always, make sure you like, subscribe, share me around on social media. Today, I'm going to show you a new vehicle I just bought here. I wasn't planning on making this video, but like usual, I buy everything that's a hoopty, and immediately I started having problems. So I'll show you what's going on here, and hopefully I can maybe hobble it back home.
You like to tell the guys Saskatchewan? You got Saskatchewan 2x4.
Yeah. All right, guys, I just picked up this 2015 Cummins Diesel. It's got a fair bit of miles, I guess. I don't consider it to be tons of miles for a diesel. It's 260,000. It's a 6.7 Cummins. You can see behind there, I'm towing a skid steer. It's got a heavy duty front bumper. I mean, honestly, it was a pretty generic work truck here, pretty much. It's got a little bit of body stuff, a couple little small dings here and there. About the same as my other truck, honestly. Cosmetic condition, just not 100% perfect, but pretty decent overall. If you guys have ever had the modern diesels here with the DEF fluid and all of the EGR and the NOx sensors and the DPF filters and all this stuff, and there's no escaping it anymore. I mean, you just can't get around it. So those are the big gotchas on these newer diesels there. We actually had a 2015 Silverado 1500 3-liter Duramax before this, and it was an amazing truck. I guess we sold it a couple of years ago now, but we basically drove it till it was off warranty, because I mean, it would have just nickel and dimed you to death off of warranty. So at that time, there was no deletes available or anything like that, which, I mean, that's up to you guys if you would look at that kind of stuff. I know there was a lot of issues over the last few years with the EPA handing out fines and stuff. It sounds like maybe that's changing, but so this truck's probably going to need some work. So I took it as soon as I bought it from a dealer, and every single time I buy a vehicle from a dealer, you guys saw me make a video about this before, I have terrible experiences with dealers. Just, I don't like that they're not honest. They never tell the truth, and I always go back to believing them, you know, when I see a deal or whatever. And this was a pretty good deal. So I paid $12,400 for this truck. Like, that's at the low end for sure. Of course, higher miles. It's a work truck trim. I'll kind of show you. I've got a bunch of my stuff in there already, but I'll kind of show you what it's like inside. It's very bare bones. So that's kind of partially the price too. And it is a 2015, so it's 10 years old, right? So it has no blow by. The transmission shifts good, all that kind of stuff. But in these generations, and it wasn't, I don't think, a thing with the early trucks that had DEF fluid, but on these ones, as soon as it starts having basically any DEF fluid issues, it basically will reduce your speed to 5 miles an hour. So it gives you a 150-mile warning, which it did. That's why I'm stopped here, actually. And basically after that, it says take it to the dealer. So otherwise, you're limited to 5 miles an hour, which is totally ridiculous. I'm farther than that from home. So I messaged back the dealer, and he's like, "Oh, we didn't know anything about that." I'm like, "Well, I ran my code scanner, and it said that there was NOx sensor codes, like NOx, NOx." And he said, "No." He said that always kind of happens on these trucks. He says all we sell is diesels, and that's kind of a common thing, but it's not a problem. He said you'll probably be 30,000 more miles before you have to really deal with any of the emission stuff. So I kind of took his word for it. Well, lo and behold, another dealer that's just not honest. So I messaged him back. He's like, "Oh, we didn't know anything about that. I drove it 300 miles and it was totally fine and this and that." No, you didn't. So anyways, I bought this truck. I took it straight home before we even did anything. Changed the oil. I got it like a complete once over. I put a new power steering pump in it. New fuel filters, things like that. Basically gave it a full service. I was going to do the transmission and the diffs and stuff, but I didn't want to do that until I at least test drove it to make sure, because I just don't trust dealers, and this is exactly why. So I usually have my code scanner with me, and I don't know if that will reset it on this. So what I ended up doing here is I went into Walmart behind me here, and I ended up picking up a jug of DEF fluid. It's not on the gauge, it's not low, but apparently the level sensors can go bad on these trucks. So sometimes when they go down a little bit, it starts acting up thinking it's actually empty or whatever, and it's not. So I put one full jug of DEF fluid in it. I don't know how much these trucks hold. My half-ton Duramax wouldn't even take 2 full jugs, so it was at about half on the gauge, or a little under. I guess it was probably just under half. In the meantime, my wife has my other truck. I think that's 513,000 miles on a gas. Hello. This is why I like gas trucks. I've had no real, like, nothing that would ever leave me stranded on that truck. I just bought a new Y pipe for it because you guys saw some of the ghetto stuff with that. I finally broke down and bought a Y pipe. My son bought me fuel injectors for my birthday there. Kind of knew I needed them, so he's like, oh, he works at O'Reilly, so yeah, he ended up buying those for me. And yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with that truck. She's going to take it in this week, get that stuff dealt with, and we'll see if that truck runs better. In the meantime, I do want to kind of drive this thing, but I guess we'll kind of see here. You guys run Cooper Discover AT3s. I don't know if you've bought any recently, but they're actually going out of stock now. They're basically discontinuing them. They're replacing them with something else that doesn't look like a very good tread, in my opinion. So if you guys are looking for a set, it's probably the time to buy them. If I end up keeping this truck, I'm going to order 2 sets. That'll give me at least probably a year and a half, 2 years of tires on this thing. So it's got some things here like the window. I didn't even notice until today actually, but the side windows aren't tinted. So I'd actually like to get this one replaced because that's really annoying. It's right where my mirror is. So this is a, let me see here. This is a power truck as far as seats and stuff go. For me, that's the biggest issue. I kind of have back issues and stuff. So I ended up throwing this down, but it's just a manual seat here, cloth seat. It's not terrible. They actually did a decent job cleaning up the interior and all that stuff. You can see 262,000 miles on it there. You can see the def gauge there. So I've got a pretty heavy load behind me here. It's getting decent fuel mileage, like about 9.5 on the gauge there. I haven't hand calculated yet, but usually they're pretty close on these newer trucks. So I would say it's probably going to get close to 10. There was a couple things here. I don't really know what the deal was. This connects to this somehow, and then there's some plugs here that are just kind of loose. I don't know. Doesn't seem like the truck was deleted, so I don't know if they just had gauges. I don't know why you'd put gauges unless you had some sort of thing, like, you know, if it was like tuned or something like that, which it doesn't seem like it was, so I don't really know. This one's got the manual 4-wheel drive shift lever here, center console, all this stuff. So like I said, it's a very plain Jane truck. Some of the buttons are broken. It does work, everything works, but it just kind of, it's a little beat up inside. Nothing too terribly crazy. So that's kind of what the deal is here. I'm hoping now, when I messaged him, which I didn't know this, he said, well, unplug the battery, plug it back in, and it resets the timer. So that's what I did. I topped it off with DEF fluid. I've got one more here, and that's the deal. So this is some of the cosmetic stuff. It's like this on both sides. That would be like kind of the worst of it there. So rubber floors, it has no floor mats, whatever. So there's some things, which again, it was no big deal, but I said it's got 4-wheel drive, which I needed. I do like that it has the bull bar there. Had that little fender bender with my last truck, and if it hadn't had that, probably would have been not the greatest. So couple little small dings, like I said, you could see in the door and stuff, but overall, I mean, for a work truck, it's good enough. I would like to add some leather seats with power. I don't know if that's something you can just add and plug in. I noticed there were some plugins in the back there, but so that's where we're at. So I'm gonna drive this thing a little bit and we'll see. Hopefully that fixes it. I'm in Weatherford right now, so probably a couple more hours to Amarillo, and then I'll stop and get a code scanner. I was hoping I could get a code scanner here, but they didn't have any in stock. So I'll stop in Amarillo, get a code scanner, and then we'll see if we can clear the codes out of this thing. All right, guys, I made it another probably, I don't know, 50 miles, 60 miles, something like that. I had to disconnect the battery and reconnect it. It didn't totally go away, but it went back to service. Supposedly, the dealer told me that if you unhook it and rehook it back up, it resets the timer. Doesn't seem to have been the case. It did reset for a little bit, but then it came back and the miles were less, so I'm not sure. So the def did fill it right full there. Obviously that wasn't the actual issue. I don't know. So I'll show you guys here the fuel mileage. So I'm gonna get back on the road here, but 9.2, it was 9.1, and actually it was pretty much bang onto that. So not too terrible, I guess, for what I'm pulling back there. That's actually pretty decent. So not too unhappy with that, but yeah, the whole emissions issues are a problem. So we're gonna keep trucking here. I'm gonna stop in Amarillo and grab a code scanner, and hopefully I can clear all this stuff. All right, guys, I came over to Walmart in Amarillo to get a scanner, and of course the store that said they had them didn't, so I had to run all over and found another store that had them. I picked one up, I reset it, but look at this. I don't know, you guys probably can't see that. Like $2.53 a gallon for diesel here, which is like, yeah. So the scanner I got here, I'll show you guys this. So I have another one of these HT300s. It's like $43 or something like that. The reason I like it is because it does live scanning and all that kind of stuff or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I know for sure it'll clear the codes and whatever. The other one I have, at least on my other truck, would let me do it while it's running. This one does not. So I don't know if it's an update to this thing or if it's just because Dodge doesn't allow you to do that. But so it did clear most of the codes out of it. I don't know if it's going to last, but I guess we will see here. So check engine light and everything's off. There's still some perform service stuff, which I know some of that stuff from reading what that is. But anyways, I'm going to finish fueling up here. And then here, I'll show you guys. $2.53 a gallon there, so pretty good. And if you guys fill up at Walmart regularly, they give you, after a certain amount of gallons, if you use quite a bit of fuel, you'll end up saving like 10 cents. You can keep piling it up. It can be 20 cents, whatever. So pretty good. So check engine light came back on already. Just showing you guys the fuel mileage here. I just hand calculated it, 122 miles and 15.7 gallons. That's like 7.8, just under miles per gallon. So it's actually a little bit less than what the gauge is showing here. So maybe those Dodge guys are always optimistic. Everybody says no matter what you're doing, I never get less than 10 or 12 or 13 miles per gallon. That's pretty much the consensus. I haven't heard a single person say they got less than 10, and it seems like every single one I've ever owned never gets that. So I don't know, maybe I'm just unlucky. Okay, so right after resetting it, just driving a couple feet here, this is the codes that came back. Exhaust gas temperature sensor circuit low. Exhaust gas temperature circuit low. Same thing. And then the NOx sensor. And then the exhaust gas temperature sensor. So obviously there's something with that up. Not sure what the deal is. Bad sensor there. So I mean, it might just need a couple of things here, and it might just keep going for a while again. But like I said, so it is what it is. I'm gonna try to hobble it and get home, I guess. Morning, guys. I'm in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. I think I'm probably 400, 500 miles of my journey. I don't even know. I'm tired. It's early. Getting up to get my life on the go here. This took me twice as long to get where I was supposed to go because of this truck. So as you guys can see, I'm still dealing with the same problem. I'm going to put out a separate video on how to kind of deal with this if you do need to get on the road or if you're having some issues or whatever. But basically this is a whole frustrating process, but I am avoiding the whole the speed limiter thing to 5 mile an hour. So I've got that kind of figured out. I don't let yourself get into that situation where you run it down to that, because if you do, you're either going to need a professional code scanner, like an actual dealer grade code scanner, to clear that or reset it or whatever, or or you're gonna have to take it to the dealer. So I'm gonna get back on the road here. Well, the only good part of this drive is it's really beautiful scenery out here, because this truck has been fighting me the whole way, but at least there's some really nice snow back there. It looks like there's enough to go skiing, maybe snowmobiling. I don't know if there is. There definitely was when I went through the mountain passes, though. There's a lot of snow. If you could see it over my shoulder here, the mountains here are just stacked with snow. It's crazy. But anyways, I'm having to keep resetting the codes on this truck. Basically, there's a little procedure to do that. Super annoying. It's only getting me so originally when I was resetting the codes, it was getting me like back to 149 miles, and I don't know if it's because I let it go past the 90-mile mark or something, but I actually couldn't get it to reset. I was down to like something like 17 miles, and that wasn't working, so I ended up resetting it again, and that's where we're at. So it's only giving me 91 miles now, so every time I reset it, it's like 91 miles, and of course you can't go to 5 because then you're actually in limp mode. So basically about every 70 miles I'm having to stop and reset it. So it seems like the best I can see is that once it gets under like 25, I'm thinking maybe 20, once it gets under like 20 miles, then you can do the reset. So it won't work with the code scanner because of the codes I have. Another thing I noticed is it used a bunch of def when I first, like a regular amount of def when I first left, and now the gauge is at like 3/4 and it's not really moving anymore. So I tried cleaning the sensor this morning, but it was really plugged up, like really plugged up. So normally the hot water will just kind of dissolve it, and that didn't work this morning. So I don't know if that injector's actually stuck or whatever. So I ordered a bunch of parts. They're all at home. I ordered upstream and downstream NOx sensors, and the injector nozzle, and a scanner to reset all the codes. An actual real, I don't know, I mean, it's an Amazon one, but it'll actually do heavy equipment and stuff too. I've needed one for a long time, so I just ordered that. So hopefully that'll kind of fix the problem here. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have to hobble this thing home. All right, guys, while being broken down, I figured take a little look at some roadside cars here. There's a little Galaxy 500. I don't know, let me see. Parked in July of 2002 here. It's a 4-door. I've never seen a 4-door Galaxy. I mean, I didn't live in this area most of the time. These cars were pretty much gone by the time I was older. I'm not going to open it up because it's not mine, but I found a whole bunch of cars on my drive today, and actually I've got a contact for some of them. Huh. Pretty interesting though. It's not as bad inside as you would think it would be, but pretty cool. I just walked out to stretch my legs and take a look, but if anybody else has seen a Galaxy 500 like this before in person, let me know. Looks like it's got some really weird damage here. Like something fell on it. Like if you look here, it almost looks like a tree fell across it. So that's cool. Anyways, I'm just basically resetting the codes on my truck there. I mean, temporarily. It's down to 25 miles. So basically, I think what's happening is every time you park it for a longer period of time, like last night, I disconnected the batteries and reset it. So when I stopped last night, if I remember right, I think it was doing it at 51 miles. Then by this morning, it was doing it at 32 miles. Now it's down to 25 miles. I picked up a truck camper and I was parked for a couple hours there, so maybe that's why. I don't really know, or maybe it only lets you do it so many cycles, and then after you cycle it X amount of times, it kind of like basically forces it to be less miles. I don't know. So anyways, that's basically just disconnect the batteries, reconnect them, and I've done that about 30 times already here. So I'm still like 9 hours from home if I was actually driving the speed limit. So it's going to be a long trip home if this keeps happening the whole way. I think I found a solution to fix it, but might drop it off while I'm on vacation and get that dealt with. All right, I figure while I'm here, I'll give you a quick once over what I bought here. I picked up this truck camper. Been looking for something. I wanted something pretty specific. It's 95% of what I wanted. A couple of things missing. A lot of these campers will have like two little like closets up here. They close that area in. And this one doesn't have that, but it has side closets, which is a little bit different, but we'll make it work anyways. And then the other thing is it's a Lance, it's a light. So this one's only supposed to weigh like 2,000 pounds dry. And I think just like a couple hundred more pounds loaded. So I can show you guys inside here. There's a bunch of the stuff that I had in my truck, but I'll just give you a quick once over what it is. All right, so it's a Lance 815, so 8'6". You guys can see back here, it's not overhanging, so I can still tow with it. It's fairly light, so it's not sagging the truck down a whole bunch. I mean, light for a truck camper. So this folds down to a bed. If you ever look at these truck campers, when they have that little thing right there, that allows this to fold down to a bed. You can tell by the hinges at the top too. We don't have the mattress, so I'll have to figure that out. And then I was talking about the storage up there. That's those storage cabinets there. There's like flies like crazy around here. Close the door up because I might have to sleep in this thing tonight. So it's got a newer-ish AC, we believe. All the upholstery and everything's in decent shape. All my junk's in here, but there is a bathroom. I don't think I can get into it right now because of this, but maybe I can show you a quick glance. But there is a bathroom with a shower and a single sink here. There's a little closet space there for hanging up some stuff. So yeah, I mean, it'll be good enough to travel with the kids or whatever and the wife. And gigantic vent up there, so if it's not smoking hot, you can open that up too, which is kind of cool. And I think we'll probably end up putting like some sort of rooftop storage maybe, or something like that. There's also pretty deep sides here, so that's kind of interesting. And it does have a slider window, so if you have a slider window in your truck, you just take an old rubber tire tube and you blow it up in between, and you can actually go back and forth and it'll be sealed. So that's something to think about. It's got a microwave there, a couple of storage cabinets up there, and then a two-way fridge. So yeah, I guess we'll see. I didn't test anything or whatever, but I bought it from a pretty honest lady. Thanks again, Ruth, if you watch this video. But I'm going to go connect my battery cables back and hopefully make a few more miles here. It's getting kind of old to doing this, so hopefully figure that out when I get back home. All right, guys, so made it home last night. This truck's actually pretty decent on fuel, so it was kind of a whole ordeal there. I guess the simplest way to explain it would be like I decided to drive through the warning, and so it made it like 320 miles on that tank or something like that. Actually, I think it was 347 when I stopped to fuel up there. So long story short, it was just that this emission stuff is really annoying. It had issues with just, I was trying to reset it like every 10 minutes. By the end, it was down to 21 miles, I think it was there. So that was a whole thing in itself. So I think I'm going to have to take it to a shop and get it looked at and decide what I'm going to do here. So probably going to take the camper back off of it, but I showed you guys the camper yesterday. It's actually a pretty nice little camper or whatever. I actually drove like, 12 miles per gallon actually was that. I drove at 60 at the end there just to try to get as far as I could. And actually, so when I stopped last night for fuel finally, I was only about an hour from home, and it actually did trip the 5 mile per hour limiter. But when I got out, I tried to reset it again just for the heck of it. So I disconnected the batteries and reconnected them, and then all was good. So it went back to 20, I think it went to 26 miles that time. So that kind of gives you guys an idea. If you're stranded, you ever need to do that, that's kind of, I guess, what you guys can do. So we're gonna move on here. You probably won't see this truck again for videos like this. This was just kind of a first little trip, and I want to show you kind of the issues I had here. So thanks for watching again, guys. Hopefully this is a good tow rig for me, because we got this one over here First time, if you guys have remembered in all my videos here, this thing is actually cleaned off. The interior is cleaned out. This thing has 514,000 miles on it. Probably going to sell it now. We just got new Y pipe and everything put on it there, so it could use a few little things there. Everything got checked out. It seems to have gotten a clean bill of health, so we're probably going to sell this thing now. It's got 4 new tires, gooseneck hitch. We drove it every day, so obviously it's going to be good for somebody else here for a while. So thanks for watching again, guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share me around on social media. I am Cruising with Kevin on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.